Thank you for listening to our daily devotional. Lesson today is it doesn't say every first day. In our reading yesterday in the book of Acts, the 20th chapter, in verse 7, we find the Apostle Paul had tarried in order to meet with the disciples. In verse 7, it says, Upon the first day of the week, when the disciples came together to break bread, Paul preached unto them, ready to depart on the morrow, continued his speech until midnight. You look at that, and that puts forth one of the practices that the Church of Christ does, and that some people have an objection to. That is, partaking of the Lord's Supper on the first day of the week. Now, there are objections to that people make, and I really haven't ever really been able to understand that. If I were to simply pattern myself after what the New Testament church did, the one that the Apostle Paul was in, obviously here, as well as other disciples, what day would I take the Lord's Supper? The first day of the week. Now, most people readily admit that that is partaking of the Lord's Supper, but the controversy arises whenever they make an objection, say, well, it doesn't say every first day of the week. Let me ask you to consider a couple of things. First of all, how many weeks have a first day? Every one of them does. Secondly, if you were to look at that instead of the first day, what about the Sabbath day? And in the Old Testament, in the book of Exodus, the 20th chapter, where the Lord commanded them to keep the Sabbath holy, so thou shalt do no work therein. You find in the book of Numbers there was a man who was stoned to death because he went out and gathered sticks on the Sabbath day. Do you think his objection would have been valid if he'd have looked and said, God didn't say every Sabbath? You say that's ludicrous. Well, yeah, that's right. Apply it to our daily life. Let's say I hire you to come to work for me, and I say, okay, I'm going to pay you $1,000 on the first day of the week. You come work for me. Well, first time the week rolls around, you've worked for me. The first day of the week comes, I give you $1,000. You continue working, the next week comes along, the first day of the week, you don't get anything. You think, well, Jack just kind of forgot or something. Another week goes on, first day of the week, you don't get anything. You come and you say, Jack, we got a problem. You said you'd give me $1,000 on the first day of the week. And I look at you and I say, well, I didn't say every first day of the week. You know, you wouldn't accept that. You'd say you're foolish. Well, how foolish are we for looking to Acts 20 and verse 7 and making that same argument? We wouldn't apply it in the Old Covenant. We wouldn't apply it in our daily lives. The truth is, reading Acts 20 and verse 7, it becomes very apparent what it means and what it says. And the only reason for explaining it away is to justify my practice of not doing that or my objection to doing it, instead of simply looking and saying, God said. Thanks for listening. You have a great day, and all of us will if we will gain the practice of simply looking and seeing what God said and allow that to settle the matter. Thank you again for joining us in this Bible study. We remind you, if you'd like to follow along in our daily Bible reading, the link below in the description of this video will give you the PDF so you can read right along with us. If you have any other questions or if you'd like information on a Bible study, contact us with the information provided on the screen before you.